Hey investor friends, I'm Michelle Markey, and today I figured I would catch us up on the latest equity holdings of some of my favorite super investors like Charlie Munger, Mohnish Pabrai, Spier, Li Lu, and also a couple of investors because I like studying the stock Alibaba, Bill Miller, and also this new one called Viking Global Investors, which sounds very intriguing and mysterious. And I'm just not covering Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway because I did that a little while ago, and you can feel free to check out that video for the third quarter 2022 because most of these super investors 13F equity holdings filing didn't come out until mid-November 2022 for the third quarter. So that's what I'm going to base most of my current evaluation on. But we have Charlie Munger's Daily Journal Corporation's 13F for the fourth quarter because they like to just come right out at the beginning of the next quarter with what they're currently holding. So I have one interesting observation from that. And otherwise, if you enjoy studying some of the best investors, I hope you'll like and subscribe to my video and YouTube channel because sometimes we can get really great ideas from better investors, and that can help us become also better investors. So if that sounds good to you, we'll get into what some of these guys own. First, let's discuss Daily Journal Corporation's equity holdings because Charlie Munger just turned 99 years old on January 1st. So happy birthday, Charlie. And probably in Buffett's book, he would be considered a young man because if he expects to live up to Rose Blumkin's legacy, he's got to work into his hundreds like she did because she set the bar so high. And also, in spite of Charlie stepping down as chairman of DJCO last year, we know that he still wants to be involved with the portfolio, but I don't know how much he's actively directing. But so far, he seems to be leaving it mostly as is with the 3 bank stocks and with Alibaba, to which I'm sure a bunch of you out there might be relieved to see that Charlie and DJCO are still holding on to Baba, and it actually seems to have improved in its recent price, where the 300,000 shares that DJCO owns is currently valued in the market at about $34 million. So that could be a sigh of relief. And to anyone who's supporting Charlie and hoping that he'll be right over time, in spite of a lot of people bailing on Baba. So we'll see if Charlie Munger proves to be right time and time again in that pick. And also a recent thing that I came to understand way better is that when DJCO sold another 302,000 shares of Baba, it was probably used most likely for tax loss harvesting to the tune of, I'm estimating that they might have had losses of about $61 million, but that might have offset some gains that DJCO had if they sold maybe about $50 million worth of BYD. So maybe they're still tax loss carrying forward the extra losses. And recently, we saw that DJCO sold their remaining little holding in POSCO, a South Korean steelmaking company, but that wasn't that much of a sale, like only $500,000 worth. So I don't see that really being that big of a deal in terms of the overall DJCO portfolio, but I just wanted to share those little updates with you guys about what DJCO has been up to. And then moving on to Spier of Aquamarine Capital, he's been very quiet lately in terms of American equity holdings, in that he only sold off the former Twitter stock back in the second quarter of 2022. And before that, in the second quarter of 2021, about a year and a half ago, the last things he bought were Daily Journal Corporation and Alibaba. So it's interesting how, I don't know if Spier bought anything in the fourth quarter yet, but as far as I can tell, he hasn't been active in American stocks, but who knows if he's bought some foreign stocks. I know that at one point he bought Prosus, which is a Dutch company, so that's not going to show up on the 13F filing. And who knows if Spier has been buying abroad, but I don't have access to that information. So if you do, feel free to share it with me in the comments. And then also moving on to Li Lu of Himalaya Capital. The only thing he did in the second quarter of 2022 was buy some Google, aka Alphabet, and sell some Facebook, or aka Meta. And that's all I know. He didn't seem to do anything as far as American stocks in the third quarter, and who knows what he did in the fourth quarter that's not out yet. But So far, it seems like a lot of these super investors haven't really been buying that much aggressively in 2022 so far, if anything at all. So I'm wondering if they're waiting for the other economic shoe to drop as far as more of a legit recession to happen, because it looked like we were potentially heading there last year, but it didn't really seem to manifest, and maybe some people are saying we might only have a mild recession in 2023. So who knows who will be right, but I'm curious to see if these super investors will become more aggressive in American stocks the more that potentially some opportunities present themselves if the market goes down. And with Mohnish Pabrai's third quarter, there seem to be a few noteworthy activities, and this is only based on what's publicly knowable. Mohnish could be invested in way more stuff than I'm capable of knowing about. Like, I know that he's invested in Prosus, but I don't know if he's still in that. And some of this is based on what I could see in this portfolio and ticker, where according to that, it seemed like he added to his Rain Industries position. But other than that, even though he didn't add to his Resos Logistics position, that seemed to explode upward in market value, going from previously being around $30 million worth all the way up to $80 million worth. So although I don't know what Mohnish originally paid for that holding, it seems definitely to be a multi-bagger for him, and that's pretty cool. And I don't know much about that one, nor Rain Industries, so I don't really have much to say about those, but good for Mohnish. And then his Micron position seemed to be going a little bit down in market value, but I'm sure he's holding that for the long haul. And then when it comes to a new American stock holding that Mohnish bought, it was about $7.4 million worth of Brookfield Asset Management with ticker symbol BAM originally, and I'll explain a few changes that happened with that. But really, in the grand scheme of Mohnish's holdings, if he has an overall assets under management of about $750 million, this Brookfield Asset Management holding might only be 1% of his overall portfolio at the $7.4 million worth. So it's really not that big, but still interesting to try to study and try to figure out what was Mohnish's rationale in investing in BAM. And so to explain some things that changed with Brookfield, it looks like they wanted to do somewhat of a spin-off. And we know Mohnish loves spin-offs. Like back when he had owned Fiat Chrysler, they did a spin-off of Ferrari, and he seemed to regret not holding on to Ferrari because he thinks it was the better company compared to Fiat Chrysler. And so we've seen this kind of trend with spin-offs that sometimes you want to spin off the better company into the world so that it continues being more profitable on its own because it's proven to be pretty good at cash flow generation and so on. So depending on how you look at this, BAM could have spun off its other part called Brookfield Corporation with ticker symbol BN as the better, healthier part of the overall corporation that used to be valued at almost $100 billion. So the spinoff, if you will, if it's really this one, is Brookfield Corporation, ticker BN, like I said, and they said that that would be a pure play investment firm valued at about $80 billion, and it's actually focused on asset management, insurance, and also business operations. So with that, it seemed to be their main flagship spinoff, I guess, and its market value has come down about 28% from that $80 billion, where it's only at about $57.5 billion worth. So it's come down a little bit, but not as much as the, I guess, remaining Brookfield Asset Management with ticker symbol BAM, which only has the $12.6 billion worth of current market cap. And that's down about 36% from the originally intended $20 billion market cap. But that's the one that's going to continue issuing the dividends in the future, not BN. So it's curious because it seemed like Mohnish Pabrai originally owned BAM, and that was reported in the official 13F filing that you can look up on the SEC's website. But then I don't know if he's going to continue owning both BN and BAM, because depending, he could have sold one or the other. So it will be telling by maybe if the fourth quarter 13F comes out, we'll see if he continues owning either BAM or BN, and if so, how much. And that might show you which spinoff he might believe in, or if he just wanted to be there for the temporary increase and maybe some hype that there could have been to take advantage of the spinoff announcement that occurred in mid-December, and then they traded as two different ticker symbols on the exchanges as of December 12, 2022. So we'll just have to see what shakes out from that, but I'll be interested to see what will come about this spinoff situation, and maybe I'll learn more about Brookfield Asset Management because I've heard good things about them, so it'll be interesting to keep tabs on that one. And finally, in the third quarter, Bill Miller of Miller Value Partners was among most super investors, as shown on Dataroma, who reduced their positions in Alibaba, and Miller did so to the tune of about 22%. But yet, Baba seems to remain still the top 10th position out of 86 positions in the Miller portfolio. And who knows, maybe he restocked on Baba when it hit some of its biggest lows in the fourth quarter. So we'll have to see when that 13F filing comes out, if he felt more bullish on Baba in the fourth quarter or not. And then the only firm to buck the trend was actually this group I hadn't heard of before called Viking Global Investors. And they had actually sold out of Baba entirely in the third quarter of 2020. But then they started buying back in the third quarter of 2022, 2 years later just about. And it seemed to have been okayed by the chief investment officer at Viking named Ning Jin. So it'll be interesting to keep tabs on what Viking does. And maybe they bought even more in the fourth quarter, and they bought about $100 million worth in the third quarter out of a portfolio that's about $21.5 billion according to what's shown on Dataroma. So we'll have to see if they get even more bullish on Baba in the coming quarters. Overall, I think that my favorite super investors are either biding their time with sitting on a bunch of cash and waiting for American stocks to really go on sale maybe this year, or they're invested in foreign stocks. So that could also be another place where maybe they're just getting better value for their dollars. So who knows? What do you think about these investors' activities or the companies they've bought? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something, please like and subscribe. And I wish you well on your journey to being the best investor you can be. Till next time.